This story took place, I just realized this earlier today, just about 50 years ago. And if you can remember a mistake from 50 years ago, it's a memorable mistake. I guess by definition, that's the case. I was, if in 1968, 69, if you were between the ages of 15 and 21, you'll probably be able to relate to aspects of this story. Much younger than that, it may seem bizarre. But this story took place one night. I was with my friend Charlie. Charlie had a car. We called the car the Trip-mobile. And we took trips in the car. And by that I'm talking about chemical trips. We really didn't have to leave the driveway. We could just be in the car, and that was enough. Ralph had bought Charlie this car, and Ralph was Charlie's father. Ralph had met me. He did not like me, and there wasn't much to like. I weighed about 110 pounds, soaked in salt water, and had hair down sort of to my shoulder blades by this time, and was chronically stoned. And that's before the word chronic came to mean chronic. So Charlie and I were out in the Trip-mobile, and we were on Route 5 in California, and it was a beautiful summer night in 1968, and so very close to 50 years ago. And it was probably 2:30 in the morning, maybe 2:45, and the radio was on, and there was a steady snowfall happening in Southern California, and it was gorgeous out in front of us, and the windshield wipers were on, and the stars were out, and the colors were just running in all directions, and it was fabulous. We were so dosed that it was remarkable that we could walk. And it was a beautiful summer night until, in my rearview mirror, the red light went on. Well, it was 1968. They weren't blue then; they were red. And it was the California Highway Patrol, Chips. And I don't know if you were ever a hippie kid and met Chips in the middle of the night, but it was never a pleasant experience. So I pulled the car onto the shoulder of Route 5. We were on the 5, and just pulled over and turned to Charlie. Charlie was my pal, and he stood about this tall, and he had hair and a beard out to about here, and big thick glasses, and a highly Semitic nose, and was as unreliable as I was. And I turned to Charlie and I said, "Pull it together, it's brain police here, we can do this." I got out my driver's license, I had one. He got out the insurance card and the registration, and by the time the cop walked up to the side of the car, I had this stuff in hand, and the window was down, and I was ready for him. And he said, "Could I see your operator's license, proof of insurance, and registration for the car?" And I handed these to the guy, and I looked at him. It was 2:30 in the morning. He was wearing mirrored sunglasses and a helmet. They wore these helmets, and in real life they were gold colored, but what I was seeing that night was this throbbing, violet colored, pulsing thing on this guy's head. And he was wearing those riding breeches that they wear, and boots up to his knees, and he was a fearsome looking character. And he took my stuff back to his car because they didn't have computers, and he called it in on the radio to see if there were any warrants for my arrest or what I might be wanted for. There weren't. And he came back up to the car. It was minutes. I mean, this took minutes, and Charlie and I were sitting there just, all over the place. And he came up to the car and he said, "Mr. Steakley, do you have any idea how fast you were going?" And I did not. I knew it was 2:30 in the morning, sort of, and it was summer, and there was no traffic, and I knew I was tearing it up. And I looked at him, and I was sitting in the driver's seat, and I said, 80? And he said, "Mr. Steakley, I've been following you for the last 13 miles. Sorry, last 5 miles at 13 miles an hour." And I did what you did. Charlie shrieked. He just let out a shriek, and I started laughing, and I couldn't stop laughing. And I had to get out of the car, and I popped open the door, and I fell on the pavement at this guy's feet. And there I was. Big mistakes. I always had a good time. I always paid full price. And in this case, the price was the weekend in the San Diego County, which was also the city jail. Me and Charlie in 1968, drunk Marines, drunk sailors, and drunk Chicano guys, none of whom liked these hippie kids that were there. We survived. I lived to tell the story. It's 50 years later, and I will never forget. Thank you.